I'm ready.
All right. We're now joined by Commissioner Jim Borsig of the Institutions of Higher Learning here in Mississippi. Of course, Chancellor Dan Jones, contract not being renewed by the IHL, big story right now, and thanks, Commissioner, for joining us today. Let me get it started off right away. In the statement that you put out yesterday, you said his contract was not renewed because of financial concerns or issues at the University of Mississippi Medical Center. I think everybody wants to know, what were those concerns?
The concerns, first let me say what the concerns weren't. The financial condition of the medical center is sound, and there's no question of impropriety on the part of Dr. Jones or any other employee at University of Mississippi Medical Center. Healthcare is a rapidly changing field. The Board of Trustees has been working with Dr. Jones over the last 4 or 5 years about issues regarding business management, financial management at the medical center. The board set up a health affairs committee a few years ago, and the board's evaluation of the work that has been done to address the issues of importance to the board are reflected in that statement. Some of the details would involve discussion of personnel at the University of Mississippi Medical Center, which is also inappropriate to go to that level. But it's about continuing to make the improvements as expected by the Board of Trustees.
Okay, so if we were doing bullet points, I mean, how would you say it? What would you say the concerns were? If we were just doing, let's say we were doing like a PowerPoint with bullet points.
You know, I think that there's a couple of things. You can go back and listen to the discussion of an audit that was done at the February meeting of the IHL Board of Trustees. And obviously that audit's available, but the audit is not the turning point of this discussion. I think that talking about bullet points, the board has worked with the leadership and Dr. Jones over a period of years on making improvements around issues involving contract management. And there's a variety of other issues about business management that go well beyond simply contract management. But the audit's been something that's been publicly discussed, but it's more of a piece of this puzzle as opposed to everything about this puzzle.
Okay. Now, let me ask this, and I'll let Logan Kirkland from the Daily Mississippian start asking some questions as well. But you guys talk about how, the concerns were not corrected to the satisfaction of the Board of Trustees. So what kind of results was the board looking for?
Well, I think that the simple answer to that is all 8 university presidents work for the Board of Trustees. And the Board of Trustees expected those issues that were identified by the board to be addressed and to be fixed. And
right. What would he be fixed? And what did you want? What did the board want the chancellor to do, though? That's my question.
There's a level of detail that I can't go into. It has to do with the fact that we're discussing a personnel matter. I'm not trying necessarily to hide behind that, so don't construe it that way. But the details of the work that needed to be done are laid out and articulated over the course of the last 4 or 5 years. And to the satisfaction of the board, those things have not been addressed.
Okay. Logan, we'll let you ask him.
Hello, this is Logan Kirkland, news editor for the Daily Mississippian. Just, one of my questions that I have is, based on Jones's achievements as Chancellor at Ole Miss, were these issues bad enough to outweigh the good that he's accomplished?
Well, I think that the action of the board speaks for itself about that. And the announcement that was made yesterday, it's clear that Dr. Jones has done a number of great things for the University of Mississippi. The board's concern about the University of Mississippi Medical Center, which its finances are 38% of the $3.8 billion budget that the board has the constitutional oversight and fiduciary responsibility for, is chief among those. And you know that there's been a lot of change in healthcare over the last 4 or 5 years in the country. And the effort to stay on top of those issues has been a paramount concern of the Board of Trustees and have been openly discussed with the Chancellor and the leadership.
Right. And do you think that this non-renewal of this contract is going to halt the growth of the university? Because I understand that there's issues going on in Jackson with this, but, he's been running campus here in Oxford, and it doesn't seem to be any issues here at this university. So do you think this non-renewal is going to halt the growth of the university at all?
I can't imagine that it would. I have been a president in this system, and as I talk to my university community about my transition to being commissioner, I said that the work of universities are never done, and they don't fall within the tenure of any one particular president. And the University of Mississippi is a very strong institution, and I think that its arc and trajectory forward is toward continued excellence.
Do you think, though, without having a chancellor, though, and having to look through the process of finding another one, do you think that that could, ultimately slow things down to, halt progress in a way?
I don't think that the change halts progress. I think every time there's a change like this, it's an opportunity to take stock about what direction is next. And so I think that having that moment to pause as a university community is also good for what the future looks like as much as anything else.
Okay, I have one question. Now, you mentioned audits earlier. I know that several audits have been done, and they've shown no financial irregularities, but in the statement, it said there were some financial concerns. So can you explain that to me, Commissioner?
There are, as I said earlier, there are no financial concerns about impropriety. The audit that I spoke of, and I'm not sure where the numbers of audits came from. I'm aware of one audit. That audit did identify issues to be addressed. And as I said earlier, the audit is not the important point in the conversation. The audit came at the end of several years of work to try and correct the concerns of the board around contract administration. And the audit itself confirmed that those issues had not been addressed. So it's financial related, it's business management related. It's not an impropriety involving the finances. And that's something that I've tried to work pretty hard to make sure and keep separate, because they're two separate things, but they're equally important.
Okay. Now, a lot of people are pointing fingers at Governor Phil Bryant right now. These are just the rumors. We're not spreading them. You can dismiss them if you want. But does the governor have any involvement in this, if any? I mean, can you confirm, deny, or dismiss these rumors?
Now, let me answer it this way. The Board of Trustees is a constitutional body and was established for that purpose in 1944 to further insulate it from outside pressure.
Right, but the governor appoints members of the Board of Trustees, right?
And the state senate confirms them.
Okay.
Governor Bryant has 4 appointees that are currently sitting on the Board of Trustees. Governor Barber has 8 appointees currently sitting on the Board of Trustees. My experience with both governors has been that they have appointed good people and they've allowed them to do good work. The governor has not had any direct involvement or indirect involvement, as far as I know, in this issue. There's not been any outside pressure brought to bear on the decision made by the Board of Trustees, in spite of the fact that there's a lot of conversation about it.
I have a question here. In Jones's statement, he talked about how is unwilling to adjust to the board's desired governance structure. What does he mean by that?
I think you'll have to ask the chancellor what he means by that. I didn't say that, and I didn't put that in writing.
Okay, and also, I mean, I want to go back to the thing about Governor Phil Bryant now. All 4 of the members that he appointed voted not to renew his contract. So you understand where people would be interested in that. I just wanted to kind of clarify that.
Well, let me clarify what the release actually said, because it's a mischaracterization that vote was to non-renew Chancellor Jones's contract. If you read carefully what was said, the board, over a number of months beginning in 2014, had discussions with Dr. Jones. Those discussions were suspended while he was on medical leave, resumed at his request when he came back, and repeat your question for me. I lost my train of thought.
I was just kind of asking, I mean, all 4 of Governor Phil Bryant's, right? Got it?
Right.
Okay.
And so let me back up and give you a coherent answer, because I had a mental glitch there.
Okay.
These discussions began last fall. The Board of Trustees and the Chancellor were in discussions regarding his contract. It was suspended while he was on medical leave. It resumed at the Chancellor's request when he returned to work. The board indicated to Dr. Jones that when he was back, these conversations would pick themselves up. And so they did.
Okay.
The discussions over that number of months made it apparent that there was not a path forward for the extension of this contract. And so what the board did was make the decision, because there was not a majority for action to extend the contract, to let the contract expire on its own. The vote that was taken was to instruct the commissioner to begin the steps necessary to begin the search for the next chancellor. Two very different things. That vote was not on extending the contract. It was in light of the fact that the board knew from its own discussions the renewal was not going to take place, was to begin the next step in the life of the university, and that's to begin the search.
So you guys the board had already decided to not renew his contract. It was just to find a new, to begin the process
That
of
was
searching.
what the decision was. The board has had a number of discussions with Dr. Jones over the course of a number of months that led to the action that was taken.
So why was he notified just, I guess, on last Thursday, March 19th? If you guys had a good idea, why wasn't he told, before that?
It didn't conclude until then. As I said earlier, it was suspended while Dr. Jones was on medical leave, and now that Dr. Jones was back at work, he had a discussion with the Board of Trustees on Thursday.
So can you give me kind of a time on when the final decision was actually made?
The discussion with Dr. Jones occurred Thursday of last week.
Okay, Thursday of last week. Was he not actually at an IHL meeting? I know, and there's a video on the IHL website. That's where I'm referencing this from. But was he not at a meeting for the IHL earlier that day?
Yes.
So you
correct.
guys decided after the meeting that to tell him, or was that when the decision was made, or was it already made? While he was at the meeting.
He met with the Board of Trustees on Thursday, and subsequent to that discussion is when he learned of the board's position.
So in that morning, he had no idea.
He had not met with the Board of Trustees that morning.
Okay, because in the video, yeah, they welcome him back and say they're so happy to work with him again, and yeah, I believe he introduced the new vice chancellor of the medical school as well. Is that right? I just want to make sure that's right.
Yeah, to the best of my recollection, that's
okay,
correct.
And that leads me to my next question, which it was that there were some disagreements about appointing the vice chancellor at the medical school. It was Chancellor Dan Jones's right to do that, but the board wanted some more input. Did that have anything to do with his contract not being renewed as well?
There is long-standing board policy that every hire at a university above the level of dean is subject to approval by the Board of Trustees. Mm-hmm. And the Vice Chancellor for Health Affairs and Dean of the School of Medicine falls into that category of board approval.
Yeah.
The Board of Trustees' involvement in that search was with the agreement of the Chancellor, and that's the only way I know how to respond to that question.
So, did it play a big part in his contract not being renewed?
I don't think, as far as I know, that's not an issue that was ever considered.
Okay, so just financial concerns that you can't talk about because of personnel issues.
Words, but the answer I think would be no.
Okay, so just let me get this one more time from you as kind of a concrete answer. The answer to why his contract was not renewed was financial concerns that you can't discuss because of personnel issues. Is that right? But they had to do with contracts.
Contract and contract management were a part of those concerns. There are other issues that are also a part of finance and business matters at the University of Mississippi Medical Center that is the heart of this, as is laid out in the release yesterday.
So the medical center is it's probably the biggest reason, or the only reason, because, would you say everything was smooth sailing in Oxford in terms of the main campus?
I think that's what the release says.
Okay, so it was truly the medical center.
I have a few questions because we talked about how there wouldn't be an effective progress through this choice, through this decision. And, there's going to be a rally on Wednesday, and there's, they said that there's like a commitment of maybe 1,000 people going to be at this rally. And I have a feeling, you said that there won't be a halt in progress, but I feel like if students and faculty themselves are forming this rally, that there is like this disconnect. So how do you plan on responding to the rally that's going to happen on Wednesday?
I don't know that there's any response to the rally on Wednesday. As I said, I have been a university president, and I understand university communities and how university communities communicate and express their opinions. But I'll go back to what I said earlier. The University of Mississippi is on a great trajectory, and I'm confident that this change in leadership will not affect that trajectory.
Okay, so you mentioned the great trajectory that it's on. Well, I mean, and you said being a former president. So, do you think this job kind of becomes undesirable now, or any public institution at the or in the state of Mississippi, knowing that you can put a university on a good trajectory, have record high donations, enrollment, everything, and still have kind of the job taken away?
I'll go back again to the release. The release lays out the reasons.
Right. No. But
Yes.
my question is more of, do you think, and I want you to speak from experience as well as being a former president, like you mentioned, does it become less desirable to be a president at a school in the state of Mississippi, knowing that you can have so much success, but, yet still lose your job or have your contract not renewed because of, certain things like that?
I believe that the chancellor's position at the University of Mississippi will be one that will attract high-quality candidates from across the country.
Okay.
If that's your question.
Okay, no, that's good. And
I have a quick question about that. You talk about how it's desirable still, but when you have these huge donors, you have Jim Barksdale, and then you have Charles Overby, and many people who are very public about their donations say that these are unforgivable decisions, just things of that nature. How does that? How do you respond to that, and how do you think that's going to start making candidates feel about the university?
I have great respect for both Mr. Overby and Mr. Barksdale, and I understand their passion and love for the university. What I would say is that passion and love for the university across the university community will solidify the future and the future success of the next chancellor. And
the other question I have too is those right now on campus, we're getting this feeling that there's just a lot of mistrust right now with the IHL board. So how are you going to, you and the board, I guess, regain this trust with the student body and the faculty? Because I feel like that's the main concern right now.
The search process engages all aspects of the university community in the discussion. That's how the Board of Trustees replaces presidents on campuses. And through that process, and also through listening and working through these issues together, the university community will move to a point to where they will be engaged in and supportive of the selection of the next chancellor.
Okay, and speaking of the next chancellor, is there a plan by the board to ensure that he or she will have a smooth transition? Because, based on the social media response, alumni that we've talked to, it seemed like the alumni might, poison the waters, if you should say. So, what kind of plan is there in store for the next chancellor to make sure that he or she has a smooth transition?
The process that goes into the selection of the next chancellor, the process in and of itself engages all of those constituencies. And it has been the experience of the Board of Trustees that process builds the kind of support that the next chancellor, in this case, or president at another university needs in order to be successful and for a successful transition.
So there's a plan to make sure that there's a successful transition.
Right. There's a well-tested process,
okay.
And there's plenty of evidence of success.
All right, and one more question, and I think a lot of people wonder this. Why did the IHL wait so long to release something? Dan Jones himself released a letter. Rumors have been flying around, some false, stuff being posted all over websites, and the IHL waited till Saturday night, Saturday evening to post something. Why wait that long?
I will say that the first 24 hours were ragged for us, but we've been clear about what happened on Thursday. Since then, I'm here doing this interview. I'm going to be available from this point forward, and I think that's my answer.
Okay.
I have one more as well. Is there any way, a lot of people are questioning, and I have a feeling they're not going to stop until they know the real answer to this is there any way that this decision can be reversed? So many people feel very strongly about this, and they might not stop until it is reversed.
Right. I believe there's a petition with close to 5,000 signatures already.
Yes.
The Board of Trustees has made the decision, and has announced that there's going to be a search for the next chancellor of the University of Mississippi.
So that's a no. Okay. And
My answer is my answer.
Okay. Do you guys have candidates in mind right now, or a time frame of when the next chancellor will be announced?
No, I was asked to begin the process of planning the search within board policy. You might imagine I've been busy since Thursday, and it will take some time. It's a well-established process. It's not fast, and as time goes on, more of the details of the actual process will come into focus.
Okay. Well, Logan, anything else?
I don't think I have any other questions. I kind of want a more clear answer of how you're going to regain the trust. I know you kind of talked about how you're going to try and find the next best chancellor, but so many people are fired up about this, and they're not. I'm telling you, they're just not going to stop. I mean, there's this I don't want to say protest. This rally is going to be. There's going to be so many people there.
And I think with that, I want to also say, I mean, there could be a national media hailstorm too if it gets big enough. Are you guys prepared for that?
It's unclear to me why there would be a national media hailstorm.
Well, I mean, I'm saying if you have 2,000 students protesting outside of the Lyceum on a school day when classes are supposed to be going on, I mean, you can understand that, I'm sure.
Sure, I do understand that, and I think that the answer is the release is actually pretty clear. The Board of Trustees is the employer of the chancellor. Over a long period of time, there were discussions about improvements to be made. The board was not satisfied with those improvements. The board evaluates the chancellor and makes this decision. The building of the trust question that I was asked is the search process itself engages all aspects of the university community. Might be hard to imagine it right now in the heat of the passion about this decision, but the search process will engage every constituency of the university, and through that process, we'll build a consensus that will help the next chancellor be successful.
Right, and are you aware that the faculty senate they've already drafted a resolution in favor of I guess reintroducing the offer to Dan Jones? Are you aware of that?
No, this is the first that I've heard about.
Okay, and also I have a feeling if this gets passed, this resolution, and then ASB, the Associated Student Body, decides to form a resolution as well, I have a feeling that this is a conversation that just can't be silenced after one statement. And wouldn't you agree?
I don't think that one statement is where we're stopping. We're talking about the future. We're talking about the search for the next chancellor. I'm talking to you guys today. I'll be talking to other media. There's going to be a lot more conversation about this. The passion of the university community at the University of Mississippi is one reason for the successful trajectory of the institution over a pretty long period of time. And I know that that passion can be harnessed in order for the trajectory to continue and the next chancellor to be successful.
All right. Well, I think that does it for us. Thank you so much, Commissioner, for joining us. For NewsWatch 99, I'm Sudu Upadhyay Logan Kirkland from the Daily Mississippian.